Hello, my name is Shemna. I'm a neuroscience major. This presentation is for the nutritional neuroscience course taught by Dr. Burgess. I will be presenting the effects of matcha on cognitive functioning. The first article that I reviewed is titled Effects of Daily Matcha and Caffeine Intake on Mild Acute Psychological Stress-Related Cognitive Function in Middle-Aged and Older Adults. This study was conducted in Tokyo Skytree Station Medical Clinic in Tokyo, Japan. It was published in the international journal called Nutrients in Volume 13, Issue 5 on May 2021. The researchers for this study were Yoshitaka Baba, Shun Inagaki, Sai Nakagawa, Makoto Kobayashi, Toshiyuki Kaneko, Takanobu Takihara. The researchers examined how daily intake of matcha and caffeine affect cognitive performance under mild psychological stress. The researchers were especially interested in how the three active components of matcha, which were caffeine, theanine, and catechins, might influence cognitive function compared to caffeine alone. This was a randomized placebo-controlled study designed to compare the effects of matcha and caffeine on cognitive performance under mild psychological stress in adults aged 50 to 69. There were 51 healthy participants randomly assigned to one of three groups, which were the placebo, caffeine, or matcha groups. Each person took 9 capsules every morning for 12 weeks. Cognitive functioning was assessed using the Japanese version of mini mental state examination, Cognitrax test, which were used to measure cognitive function, as well as the Uchida-Kraepelin test, which induces mild psychological stress during the testing. They were able to find that a single dose of caffeine improved attention and reaction speed. Participants responded faster on tasks like the Stroop and continuous performance test. However, when it came to long-term intake, only the matcha group showed improvement in sustained attention and work performance. After 12 weeks, matcha consumers scored significantly higher on the Uchida-Kraepelin test, suggesting better focus and resilience under stress. The researchers proposed that this was due to the combined effects of matcha's active compounds. The caffeine targets increase in attention, theanine for its calming effects, and catechins for its neuroprotection properties. Interestingly, they found that there were no significant changes observed in biological markers such as amyloid beta peptides or BDNF, which were our brain-derived neurotrophic factor, meaning the cognitive benefits appeared to be from functional and not structural brain mechanisms. In conclusion, the study demonstrated that while caffeine alone gives a short-term performance boost, daily matcha intake provides more of a long-term cognitive benefit, particularly for maintaining attention under stress. This research relates to me because I tend to utilize the caffeine in coffee or matcha to increase my attention, and to now understand the beneficial difference they provide during stress is very informative. The second study I looked at is titled Matcha does not affect electroencephalography during sleep, but may enhance mental well-being. This study was conducted in Watanabe Hospital in Tokyo, Japan, also published in Nutrients in Volume 16, Issue 17 on August 2024. The researchers for this study were Yoshitaka Baba, Takanobu Takihara, Noritaka Akamura. The researchers for this study explored whether daily matcha consumption could improve sleep quality and mental well-being in healthy adults. The researchers wanted to understand the effects of L-theanine, known to promote relaxation, combined with caffeine, known to disturb sleep. This influenced their study on matcha, which contains both of these active ingredients. They conducted a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial with healthy men and women aged 27 to 64. The 46 participants consumed either 2.7 grams of matcha powder or a placebo every day for 4 weeks. The researchers then measured the sleep data using EEG recordings and self-reported experiences using questionnaires such as the Beck Depression Inventory 2. Interestingly, the results showed no significant changes in EEG sleep patterns, which I found that to mean like matcha didn't specifically alter aspects like the sleep time or sleep efficiency, or present changes during sleep. However, there was notable differences in how participants felt. Those in matcha group reported spending less time in bed after waking up, greater satisfaction with their sleep, and even in improved mood overall. While there were no observed changes in the brain sleep activity after matcha consumption, it did have a positive effect on participants' mental well-being. The researchers suggest that the theanine in matcha may have influenced the results and counteracted the effects of the caffeine. For me, this study is fascinating because it highlights how our mental state can play a role in the quality of our sleep, which is very important to understand as a college student. And the third study I reviewed is titled Effects of Matcha Green Tea Powder on Cognitive Functions of Community Dwelling Elderly Individuals. This study was funded by Matcha Health Research Group and the GSPS Grant in Aid for Scientific Research. It was published in Nutrients in Volume 12, Issue 12 on November 2020. The researchers for this team is Kaisuke Sakurai, Shutong Shen, Yuri Ezekai, Tatsuhiro Haizatsune, Nuriko Inemura, Yoshi Fukushima, Nobutaka Musoka. The researchers for this study aim to explore whether daily supplementation with matcha powder could help maintain or improve cognitive function in older adults, which is an important topic as aging is associated to dementia. This study was a 12-week randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial, and it included 61 healthy adults aged 60 and older. Participants were assigned to either a matcha group containing 1.5 grams of matcha or a placebo group. The researchers assessed cognition using tests like the Montreal Cognitive Assessment and the Mini Mental State Examination, which measured the changes in cognitive performance, and the Wechsler Memory Scale Delayed Recall for Memory, and specifically analyze like dementia symptoms, and then the Barrett Impulsiveness Scale for impulsivity. Overall, they found that there were no significant differences between the groups, but when the researchers looked at the female participants specifically, they noticed that the female participants who consumed matcha daily showed improvements in total cognitive test scores, especially in the language domain compared to the placebo group. The researchers did suggest that for future research, they should expand the number of male participants that are in the study to get more of an effect, more of results of how it could affect male as well. The researchers suggest that these effects might be linked to the ingredients vitamin K, lutein, theanine, and catechins in the matcha, which they stated all have antioxidant and neuroprotective effects. The researchers noticed that vitamin K appeared to play a key role, suggesting that women with lower vitamin K intake may benefit most from matcha's cognitive effects. While matcha didn't change overall cognition across all the participants, both female and male, it did show that cognitive benefits for elderly women. This study is a great example of how simple dietary habits like drinking matcha or even increasing the intake of essential nutrients, like how they prioritized vitamin K during the study, can have a significant effect on cognitive health. And overall, these 3 studies showed that matcha helps support brain health by improving focus, lowering stress, and maybe even protecting our memory. I found it really interesting how theanine and caffeine have adverse effects. However, it seems to still be beneficial as theanine suppresses the excitotoxicity of caffeine. The researchers expressed how the concentration ratio between theanine and caffeine is very significant, with one study stating that theanine's effects depend on the ratio of caffeine and how much is taken. I learned that the caffeine in matcha does not have the same effects as caffeine alone, and it can actually support mental well-being. After this course, I plan to possibly increase my intake of matcha to stay calm, focused, and healthy long-term and during stress. Thank you.